It's happening now at an alarming rate. A lot more are gone. Before it was just a few, but now, too many to count. The weather's cold, the days have gotten shorter, and all around me, death is everywhere. Let it be known that these are the writings of me, Bob Schwekorski. I'm writing these pages because I fear I may very well be witnessing my last days on Earth. My turkey brethren have been disappearing. All that's left of them are a few decapitated heads lying on the ground haphazardly. My tale begins a few days ago. My wife Felicia, my kids and I were out in the yard doing our usual thing. We had a good fill of food and water. Master treated us well. Over the summer he started feeding us so much I gained a ton of weight, my wife too. At first I didn't like the way she looked, but after a while the extra pounds weren't so bad. More to love. PHH. Anyway, takes a drag from a cigarette. A few days ago, we came in for the night and got the little ones tucked in. Felicia and I stayed up a bit later and talked about family and things. We went to bed and that's when it started. I was woken from my sleep with the sound of blood-curdling terror. All I could see was the shadow of a tall figure carrying my beloved Felicia away against the pale moonlight and dark evening sky. Quickly I sprung up and ran after her, but the dark figure slammed the door to our coop and it would not open. The screams. Oh, the screams as she cried out, then, silence. Frantically I scratched and scratched away at the door with my talons, but my effort to open it was in vain. I sat there on the soft hay in fear. What had happened? After a while there was a bump, a noise seemingly coming out of the blue, and the door slowly opened. By now there was a fog creeping up and the faint glow of the early morning sun in the sky. It was hard to see. Cautiously I walked out of the coop and looked around. Felicia. I yelled out. Felicia. No answer. Then I heard footsteps. Felicia? Out of the fog appeared my friend Joe. Joe, man. Felicia. She was taken. She's gone. Joe looked at me for a moment with a concerned look as if he already knew what happened. I heard the screams. That's why I came over, exclaimed Joe. Then he looked down at the ground. Bob, on my way here I saw something. I saw. Then Joe looked at me dead in the eye. I saw Felicia's head laying on the ground by the old barn by my coop. I'm sorry, Bob. What? I shouted. Quickly I ran past Joe over to the old barn. I had to see for myself. I ran faster than I ever had before. With a terrible sinking feeling in my belly, I knew I did not want to see what was there, but I had to. When I got there I searched around, didn't see anything. I saw the door to the barn was cracked open a bit, which was unusual because most of the time it was locked. Slowly I crept toward the opening, and before I got too close, there it was, right in the crack of the door. The decapitated head of my wife, Felicia. In a wave of confusion, despair and utter terror I ran back to my coop and hid under some hay. The image of Felicia's head burned in my brain, and now my wife dead by the hand of some monster. What's going on? I thought. My heart ached, my head was spinning, I felt sick. Literally nauseous. Then I remembered, my kids. My children. I ran up the ramp to the upper floor where they slept, and at that moment life changed instantaneously. My children were gone. I needed help, so I collected myself and made it quickly outside. In the yard were a bunch of my neighboring turkey friends in a big commotion, all riled up about something. I yelled out, help. They all stopped and looked, and then I collapsed. I passed out from overwhelming despair. I came to the next afternoon in the coop of my good friend Joe and his wife Sarah. You're awake, said Joe. Then he fetched me some water and seed. Felicia, I yelled. Joe, my kids. I know, Bob. Then he walked over to the window with his head hung low. Bob, something is happening, something bad. Several turkeys have gone missing. Horrible cries have been heard all over the yard. We're not sure if it's a fox or something else coming in and killing our friends, but one thing's for sure. We don't know how to stop it. I looked at Joe with the kind of look you give someone who just told you some really heavy stuff. My jaw was wide open. I took a swallowing breath, and then for a moment there was silence. Joe turned around and looked at me and said, while you were unconscious, Sarah went over to your place to get the kids and saw they were gone. That's how I know about them. Then Sarah came down the ramp, ran over to me and gave me a huge hug. Bob, I don't know what to say. Just then we all turned our heads toward the door. We heard the strangest loud crackling sound. It sounded like the laughter of a lunatic. What was that? Joe shouted as he ran to the door. Bob, come here. I ran over. Stand here and help me hold the door closed. Whatever that is, we don't want it getting in. The insane laughter grew louder and the sound of footsteps was drawing near. There was also a clanking noise like the sharpening of metal. Joe and I looked at each other in fear. We knew it had to be the killer. The laughter stopped at the entrance of Joe's coop. My heart was pounding. My mind a blur. My breathing was rapid. Fear overtook me. The silence was more frightening than death itself. Then there was a huge push on the door, but Joe and I countered it. "Dig your feet in, Bob," screamed Joe. "The killer's here. Let me in, you damn turkeys." "What? Who? Who was that?" That voice, it sounded familiar. Then there was another huge push, but this time it knocked Joe down. I looked over at him and saw his eyes grow wide. Then one last big push sent me hurtling backward. As the door flung open, there he was, the killer. Slowly my eyes glanced up at the killer's face, and just when I thought all of my world was already upside down, I saw who the killer was. Master. Our master was the killer. My beloved and faithful master was slaughtering us all. There he stood carrying an axe dripping wet with the blood of his last kill. Running on sheer instinct, I sped past Master and made it outside untouched. Joe. He wasn't so lucky. Master reached in and grabbed Joe by the neck. He ripped him out of his coop, much like had been done to my Felicia. Joe was flailing around trying to escape, screaming for help, but I was froze in place. Eventually Joe shook loose and fell to the ground. This just made Master mad. "Damn you, turkey. I'll just kill you right here," Master shouted. Then Master swung back his axe, paused and lunged toward Joe. I glanced at Joe with my eyes wide open and he at me, then the axe came down and Joe was gone. Joe's headless body bounced around aimlessly as the life slowly drained from it. I could not believe what I was seeing. It was an indescribable evil. After that ended, Master picked him up, looked at me and pointed with his axe. "You're next, bub." Hee hee ha ha ha. Then he walked toward the old barn. I ran. I ran with no direction or purpose, I just knew I needed to get out of there. Up ahead I saw a small shed at the end of the yard. The door was open and I ran in. In faint light I frantically looked for a place to hide. Then in a corner I saw a small crate covered in rags just big enough for me to fit under. So I hid. For 3 days now I've been in this crate. I'm tired, thirsty and need food. All around me I hear the cries of turkeys being slaughtered. What has happened to Master? Has he gone mad? What is the purpose of this endless massacre? I need to get out of this crate and leave the farm. Somehow I have to get out of here with my life. Please, whoever should read this, tell my story so that the world will know of the horrible things that happened here. I sure hope someone sees this, I thought as I placed the pages I wrote on the ground. I love you, Felicia. Cautiously I poke my head out from under the rags covering the crate. There is bright moonlight coming in through the shed door. A bit dangerous to leave under these conditions, but if I stay I will surely die. Slowly I walk toward the door, away from the safety of the crate. Looking out I can see the coast is clear, oddly all is calm. 1 step. 2. Not too fast now, Bob. I can see the gate about 300 feet away. If I make it there I'll be free. Throughout the yard I can see blood everywhere. Can't think about it. Stay focused. There you are, turkey. Hee 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 ha ha ha.